Hi, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about what happened in Serbia and why it happened. We are going to watch a video from Euronews. Please go check out that channel. As I told you before, I more or less like of all of their contents. At least they do not lie. They give you the news. Sometimes I don't like their opinions, but look, everyone is entitled to them as long as they give me the facts. Now, all of this pressure, all of this confusion, all of this arms race in that area uh, worries me, to be honest. Because if you don't know this, World War One started there, and indirectly World War Two also started there. Okay, that place, the Balkans, have always been a source of pressure, of trigger. It always has triggered events in Europe. It's one of those areas. Okay, you have a couple of areas in the world where when when there's trouble in that area, it will spread across the rest of the continent. Okay, and the Balkans is that area for Europe. Whenever there is problems in Europe, it's going to spread to the rest of the country or to the rest of the continent. Sorry. Okay, so first let's watch the video and then we'll talk.
Serbia staged a massive military parade in Belgrade on Saturday in what officials called the country's biggest display of army strength in history. President Aleksandar Vučić said the show of force underscored Serbia's ability to defend itself and act as a deterrent. The parade featured Russian tanks and Chinese anti-aircraft systems alongside Israeli rocket launchers and French fighter jets. A clear result of the ongoing arms race in the region and a vivid message to the closest rival, Croatia, who did a similar parade in July. But critics called the event a political prop designed to bolster Vučić's rule, which has been challenged by 10 months of student-led protests.
Right. First of all, I'm not saying. Look, let me start from the beginning. Serbia was not very well treated by the rest of Europe. And I know that for a couple of Serbian people, this might come as a surprise for someone that is pro EU, that I am, to be saying this. But in my opinion, the way that we dealt with Serbia, it was correct when we were talking about people that committed war crimes. In that aspect, sorry, but no, no. If you committed war crimes, then you deserve the punishment. But in terms of uh, restoring the trust with Serbia, in terms of having a more frank and open conversation about all the issues, including Kosovo, not just looking at the pretensions of Kosovo of being separated from Serbia, but to also see what that region means to the Serbs. Okay, look, this is a discussion that we have to have, and that if we don't have, it will poison the relationships through the generations. Okay, this is the first thing I want to say, so that no Serbian person that is listening to me thinks that I'm biased or that I would say do this or invade Serbia or whatever that crap. Okay, I also did not agree with the way that politics dealt with it. I did not like to see bombardments and all of that they did. None of that, none of that, in my opinion, was really productive. I think, but then again, I will tell this to the Serbs too. You have to understand that Europe was pretty much doing the USA's bidding. What does this mean? This means that there were key politicians in Europe that were completely doing what the Americans told me. Durão Barroso, for example, that was the Portuguese prime minister, he was enforcing American policies. This is just an example, okay? And these are things that we have to come to terms with. You have to speak with Serbia, and you have to continue this dialogue to bring them into the European Union, and we all have to solve this situation with Russia. Okay, we have to show the Serbs that this special relationship that I understand, I have studied the historic precedents, okay? I know all about it. You don't need to tell me this, okay? But we have to understand it. But the Serbs also have to understand what Russia is doing and what does it want. And that if Russia gets what it wants, the Serbs, they won't be treated any different. You will be treated like slaves, like the rest of Eastern Europe. That is what Putin wants. Okay? You won't be treated. You won't be treated as equals. You won't. He Look, I have heard this from the mouth of Russians. Okay? You having a special relation with a country, you have a special relationship with the people. And that I understand that you have cultural bonds, that you have even I know nowadays even the linguistic bonds, connections. Sorry, that I understand. But politics, that man in the East, if he comes to the West, you are going to be under his heel or his buddy's heels, and the oligarchs that dominate his country will dominate yours. You will be enslaved just like the rest. I don't know if you like that or something, but me personally, no, I don't like it. I don't think being a slave is a good life, even if the slave is well fed and kept. Okay, I don't like to be anyone's pet. The second thing we have to understand here is also that the countries around Serbia and that were all a part of Yugoslavia. Okay, all of these countries they have to have a dialogue. And the best way to do this is to simply establish alliances, okay? Mutual protection alliances, solve any border issues that may subside, but do it talking. Establish economic ties, and these are things in which the European Union should be taking a more proactive proactive attitude. You know, as I told you, I'm not here, even if I'm pro EU, I'm not here to excuse the EU when they are not acting. No, we have to say this. We have to say, look at what's happening in Serbia. And then there is political instability in Serbia. We saw the brutality that was used against the people that were manifesting themselves against the president or prime minister, whatever he is. You understand what I'm trying to say, okay? Those protests were violent, really violent, okay? And this is not good for Europe. This is not good for Serbia. This is not good for anyone. The only person that is profiting out of this is the lunatic in the East and the Americans. What the Serbs have to understand also is this: an independent Europe, a strong EU that encompasses all of us Europeans, and I'm also including the British in this, okay? I'm including everyone. People sometimes seem to be scared of this, like, oh, they are going to take away my sovereignty. No, it's a question of having us defending each other and speaking the same at the same at the in the same word, discussing ideas, discussing perspectives. We can only benefit from this, okay? But things like this, you know, Croatia makes a military parade in July. Now Serbia makes one. Next week it's Bosnia. This is not beneficial for anyone. And I think the European Union, and I know they have been talking with Serbia, okay? They have been trying to get Serbia into the EU. And the question of Kosovo is the worst problem that exists here. So if Serbia is going, for example, if you get Serbia to make some kind of concession of peace or whatever you want to talk about, okay, with Kosovo, and bring some peace and some stability to that state, okay. If you can do this, then you have to give something back to Serbia. You have to compensate people. You have to recognize things. You have to put it in writing. Because you don't know this, but Kosovo was an historical part of Serbia. It's very important for the Serbs. You have to understand this, okay? Just as now I'm going to say this, you have to also recognize the position of the people of Kosovo and why they want to be an independent state. They want to have their little corner in the world. That is something you also have to understand, and that the Serbs also have to understand. Is it easy? No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It cannot be easy. But is it doable? Yes, it is. It is doable through patience, through making mutual concessions, to doing a lot of stuff that we could all be doing instead of going on military parades that should be held together. A lot of people don't approve of a European army or whatever, but we need an alternative to NATO. Europe needs an alternative to NATO. And Serbia has a lot of know-how it can bring into that army. So does Croatia. All of us, we can all contribute. And we need this so that we are in a position of strength when we are talking with other countries, with other blocs. And we need this because if we don't do this, we are going to continue to be puppets in the hands of the Americans or of the Russians. And we don't need to choose masters. We can be masters of ourselves. But like I said in the beginning of the video, we need to understand the position of Serbia. We need to understand the history. We need to understand what happened. We need to understand all of that. And we need to come also to some kind of common declaration about what happened in the Balkans War. You have to understand the reasons behind it. And the reasons behind it was a communist dictatorship. Sorry, but this is the truth. And before that, it was because all of those countries were under a master. Either the Ottomans, the Turks, or the Austrians, the Italians, the Russians, whoever, you understand. And Russia was always using that cultural bond with Serbia to destabilize and influence that region. They were using the Serbs. Look, But does that change the fact that there is a cultural connection, sorry? No. This also has to be recognized and seen in that perspective. But now the Serbs also have to understand this. Look at what he is doing in the East. He will do that in your home. Do you think if he advances or whatever and gobbles up more land, then when he reaches your borders, he will allow you to have a democratic elected government or that you want, that you won't elect whoever he wants you to elect? You will be slaves. Slaves. That man, a lot of people don't, and people in the European Union still have not understood this. The people with that mindset, and I'm not just talking about him, I'm talking about the movement that is behind him, okay? Because he's not the sole master, okay? No, there are many masters in that. It's just like Mr. Trump in America, a symptom of a disease festering under the body of the state. The disease will still be there if you remove a symptom. This is the same thing. But again, if we want to do this, then we have to give something back to Serbia too. Economical aid, for example, a more quick integration into European institutions, into European economic mechanisms, all of that is needed. Okay, but we keep on banging on. Oh, you have to recognize this of Kosovo and that, but then we don't go there and we don't say, look, let's make you recognize this, and we will guarantee this. For example, those districts in Kosovo that there was all that tension because of the license plates and all of that. It it's because of subject of things that are running much deeper. Okay, because the majority of the population that is there is Serbian and Orthodox Christian, not Muslim like the most of the people of Kosovo are. Okay, we all know that, so we need to find a solution for that. And the European Union actually went there and more or less solved it. But we need to go deeper than this. We need to diffuse these all of these confusions that we have around the region to obtain a durable peace. Or else, like I said, a war started there, another one can start. Because we are always running around the bush. And this annoys me a lot. I fail sometimes too. I'm not perfect, for God's sakes. No, I'm not. I have a lot of flaws. I have a lot of issues too. But there is one thing that I do that I think we all should do. When I have an issue, when I have a problem, I don't circle around it. No. Recently, and I talked about this in the videos, I've been having some health problems. But I don't go around it. I face them. Whatever the consequences are. I always face it. Because you cannot live in a lie. And what we are doing here is perpetuating a state of a rotten, what we in Portuguese we say, paz podre, a rotten peace. It means it's something that is there, but it's not real peace. It has not achieved entirely the purpose of that peace. Okay, it's just there, just to keep things more or less flowing, and we don't want that. Okay, we want something that is certain. We want to address all the problems. We want to talk about them because this is how you obtain the durable peace. You go straight to the point and you take care of the problems. Until we do this, nothing will change. Well, thank you all for watching the video. I thank you for commenting on my videos, for subscribing, for liking, and I want to see your feedback in the comment sections. If you're Serbian, please give me your opinion. Okay, you don't have to agree with me. The only thing that I ask is that people don't lie, they don't spread misinformation in my comment sections, and also that they are civil and polite. That is the only thing I ask from people, because we don't all have to agree with each other. But what we do have is to discuss things and to recognize we are wrong when we cannot say I'm always right. We cannot say that. You have to recognize it. But you cannot recognize the existence of narratives like the one that Mr. Putin, for example, is spreading. NATO was spreading. NATO has spread because of Putin. And the Ukraine gave up their nukes to Russia to be able to rule itself as it saw fit. This is simple. Even bloody Russia could be a part of the EU. They're an European country and they can qualify for it. But what does he do? He wants to install puppets in the governments of all countries so that when Russia says jump, they ask how high. And none of us want that. No one wants that. No one wants to be a slave. People want to live their lives. They want to elect the people they want to be their presidents or their prime ministers or whatever. They don't want to be puppets. Okay? And we especially don't want to have Europe divided again between the Americans and the Russians. And this is exactly what Trump and Putin are doing. And this is my personal opinion. Okay? My personal opinion. So, but that is the subject for another video. Like, sometimes I start to rant and then I forget. Okay? But again, thank you all for coming, for seeing my videos, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.